moral of the story is, the one thing I want to add to all that is we just got to sober ourselves here, because that's the essence, right? Like, no facades, we'll just fucking have fun. If we've got to swear, we'll swear. We do what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Hilly, we're on.
Now.
We're on, mate. That's authentic right there, buddy. Just smashing a coffee, sculling a coffee before we even get started. Mate, those biceps are looking good.
Well, light. How good.
On camera's action. Fuck, we've come a long way in terms of the aesthetics of the podcast. All right, mate. So lift us off, buddy. Why are we here?
Why
are we sitting
talking about for a while?
We have.
So I think it's just following up on the first couple of podcasts that we did, and we thought that maybe we could add some value to the people that are in this industry and a bit of fun.
Yep.
And maybe give a bit of insight to, I guess, what we've done and what other people could do if they want to try and do it, and yeah, have a bit of fun, mate.
Yeah, and I've got a podcast, or I had a podcast, or I kind of haven't got a podcast. But anyway, you were on that podcast. And it was called the High Performance Podcast. And then you were on a few of those, and I was loving the conversations, and I was loving us talking about developing wealth and developing property and all the rest of it. And we decided, hey, let's do a podcast. Right. Let's have a crack at a podcast that's very much around developing property, wealth creation, and I'm excited, mate, because I think this is insanely valuable. You're the man to do it with. But what's this podcast called for a start? Like, what is this future current podcast that we're working? Dude, what's the podcast called? Nah, drum roll. Hilly, you deserve to announce it. Go for it, mate.
Why? Because I don't know what it is.
Mate, come on. Okay, so it's called the Development Podcast.
Business of Development.
There you go.
Business of Development. Okay, so one more time, please. What's the podcast?
Podcast.
Okay, so it's called the Business of Development.
I'll have a sign up there soon.
Okay, so what does the Business of Development mean?
So I guess it's more about, obviously, development, property development.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll throw all the other things in that circle around development, such as construction, finance, and all those type of things, and the processes of doing it along the way, whether it's any type of development. It could be small, could be just a quick little flip, turnover in 2 months, up to, I guess, dual locks, multi-level, just discussion around all of it, really. And if it sort of helps people understand a little bit more, I'm sure we'll learn a fair bit along the way as well. Get a couple of key speakers on that have been in the game for a while in whatever their role is in that industry, and sort of pick their brain out and learn it ourselves as well a bit better.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. I think this is going to be an unreal journey because, mate, I won't go too far ahead too fast, but I think this is going to be amazing because you got insane knowledge in terms of property development. I'm glad we're staying in that space, and I'm super passionate about it, similar to yourself, and I'm so glad that it's not just going to be about you and I. We're going to bring in like guns. Best of the best, so that we can learn more. And I love that you just said that. And so listeners can learn more. So, for me, business of development really means we're going to encapsulate everything in that property development space. For me, it's important that we have fun doing it, because that's the essence of this. We want to keep it fun. We want to keep it light.
I'll be pulling the pin if we don't have fun.
No, I reckon the next session you'll probably have no shirt on, mate, so it's going to be fun.
Not there yet.
No, those guns are looking good there. Okay, so just so we're very super, super clear from the start, this podcast is to cover everything around property development, wealth creation, and the business of doing this, just so we're all really, really clear. Mate, I think it's important when you're framing up what a podcast is going to go over in terms of content, we understand motivation. Like that's really, really important because we need to understand why some people like yourself are super motivated to do property development, and also why a lot of people struggle to do property development, and it's like a big problem for them, right? And it's a big fear, and it's like a demotivation, if you like. Because if we understand the motivations, it's like we really know how to help people that are struggling, or we know how to help people that are really aspirational like yourself and doing amazing things. So let's start with the great stuff, because actually let's start with a problem. Problems are our greatest motivations in anything. So in terms of property development, what do you find the big problem is in property development, whether it's haven't started, fear starting, have started, etc., etc.? What do you think the problems are?
Well, I think it is a bit of a big game to go into. I think it's a little bit daunting. It even is daunting when you do it. Yes, you definitely need capital to do it. I think I've always said cash is king, and even if you finance it, you've still got to support that finance. You still got to pay that finance monthly. You still got to, when you get the end of development, you've put everything into it, and all you want to do is wrap it up. So you still got to have, even if you get finance, you've still got to have a lot of money to support that finance. So I think money and capital is number one. At the end of the day, if you don't have any, it's very hard to do it. I remember I went to a cinema thing. I only went to one or two of them because at the end of it, they just try and sell you stuff. But I only went to one or two of them. And but one thing I did take out of this, what this guy was saying, I won't mention his name, was down at Parramatta, it was get money from wherever you can. Anywhere you can, family, friends, whatever you can, borrow it, give it back. Just if you want to do it, get money from wherever you can. That's how you've got to start it. If you haven't got any, do a structure with a family member. I don't know, whatever.
Can I get some of yours? We're mates.
No, I haven't got none.
I need to do the next one. I've got no money left. You know that. I've been open with that. So, mate, if you're my friend, like we said we're friends, and you said to me yesterday, you said to me on the phone, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes to help you succeed in life. So I need about 500K just to do something. So thanks, mate. Sorry, keep going, Hilly.
We'll do an interest component on the end of it, like they do to us.
Yeah, what, 7%, 8%?
Right. It's a good rate. As I hear that, rates are going up now. So there's another thing. Like I've looked at a new finance package, and they've tipped up a little bit. I've noticed. Obviously, it's across the board, not only in home loans. It affects everything. So, cash. I mean, you've got to really have drive to do it. I think you've got to have drive in anything, to be honest. Bit of competitiveness, drive, and be willing to put everything on the line. Because pretty much every time you do a development, especially even if it's just a little flip, if you're doing a little flip, you're basing it around the money that you have. Did heaps of them at the start. Sucked myself dry, lived off credit cards, did whatever. And you're putting everything on the line. That's it. You're putting whatever, if you've got family at the time, you're putting everything on the line. I think you've just got to be willing to take the jump. And if you take the jump and you've got knowledge around it, learn as much as you can, there's no reason why you can't. But it is a daunting industry.
So I'm going to take what you've said. I'm going to give you what I've gathered. Problem is, I think it comes down to money, definitely, right? Just not knowing how to get money or how to create money or how
to use it when you're doing it.
Absolutely. So finances are freaking huge, right? Money is huge.
You don't understand billionaires that are doing development are still using finance.
Yeah.
Right. They are the money they got is elsewhere. So it's always going to happen. No matter how successful you are in it, you're always going to use it.
So it's a lot of it, or a big part of it, is the financial confidence. It's the financial confidence to get the money. It's the financial confidence to use the money. It's the financial confidence on what the outcome of the development is going to be. Financial is a huge part of the problem why people don't jump, or why they don't jump enough. Massive, right? The financial element. I think another problem is, and I'm going to get you to elaborate on this, is knowing how to do a successful development. Like, let's run a hypothetical, right? Let's say I had a couple of $1 million, access to capital, access to finance, and I was keen to do this development. If I'm a person, let's say I'm a person that's never done development and I've been to a few seminars like you, I'm still going to go, what's my ROI on this? Am I going to make any money? I don't even know how to do a feasibility on the damn thing. Yeah. Like, and I maybe don't even know, like, or trust any builders. So really that's going to be a hindrance as well. So it's not just financial.
What you just said then, feasibility. So maybe on one of the topics we'll show how I've got. So when I go to look at one, I've got a basic feasibility that it's really quick. I can do it on my phone.
Yeah.
I did it with you.
Yeah.
When you rang me a few months ago about one, I told you not to buy it.
I hate your feasibilities because you just say I can't do anything, and then I don't have any other capital to do anything else. So I'm just completely hamstrung,
mate. So,
well, give me some more money so I can do some more stuff. Okay. So
feasibility.
So absolutely, that would be, for example, guys, that would be one of our topics that would cover, and Hilly would give you everything he could. But what other problems, mate? I just want to stay there for a second. What other problems do these guys face? A lot of it's obviously around confidence. It's around capital. What else is there?
Well, you gotta know the knowledge of it. You gotta know building.
Yeah.
Number one, because at the end of the day, like, you gotta know the components of building. You gotta know the costings of building.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like QSs and stuff like that. They're not builders, but they're gonna know the ins and outs, even though they're always under budget. Around like the way that they price things, they're always unders. But you've got to know, how much it's going to cost to put that slab down, roughly. You need to know how much it is to get that roughing done. You need to know time frames.
And probably if you don't know all those things, you need someone. Yeah, or go. See, I trust you, right? So I know at the end of the day, like, I don't know how to build. I said this as a joke the other day with a bunch of builders that I help coach financially. I said to them, one of you guys for your social media should get me in a tool belt and get me on job site. I reckon I'd smack my fingers straight up. It'd be freaking hilarious.
Him on there, and we'll see how he goes for half a day. I reckon it'd be hilarious.
Imagine me as the apprentice silly.
You will be treated as an apprentice if you come on.
Yeah. So yeah, if you don't know the knowledge, at least you need to know someone that does know the knowledge when you're going through the process.
It's the same the other way. So that's definitely important, but don't think, like we spoke about when we were sitting down over breakfast the other morning, don't think you have to be a builder to be a developer.
Yeah.
I know some really high successful sort of developers that I've picked their brains out over the time. And a lot of them were accountants.
Yeah.
A lot of them had finance background, didn't know nothing about building, and then obviously they got building companies to do the developments.
Let's talk about that for a second. We're sitting at breakfast, right? This is important. We'll just quickly touch on it. And I obviously coach builders, right? And you pulled me up on it, mate. And that's the reality of this, right? We were always going to be truthful on these podcasts. And you said to me, you go, mate, not all builders want to be developers. There's people that want to be developers. Talk to me about that.
Well, I think if you listen to the other podcasts, you know that I was doing house flips and developments before I became a builder. And then I thought I've always wanted to be a builder.
Yep.
I just didn't have time to finish the course, and I had other aspirations that I wanted to do. And then I just knew that would be, another benefit to...
Sorry, is that what's scoring, mate? It's a spider, mate.
Would be another benefit to, or another string to the bow. And I'm glad I did do it. But yeah, I was the other way around. But you can be from anywhere. Like you look at on Instagram that you've got, you got these girls that have had nothing to do with building, and they've got hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're doing these reno flips day in, day out. And you got to pick what lane you want to go in. Like, you've got to, do you just want to be a house flipper? In, out, cosmetic, ball. Do you want to go along that way? Do you want to keep it and do it in your name?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a business? Do you want to structure it? Do you want to do multi? Do you want to do dual lock? Do you want to do commercial? Do you want to do big ones? I'm more about the design. So I want to go out and, like, I look at McGee now, I go, I know it's special, but I go, boom, the next one's going to be twice as good.
So it's about 10 episodes. Yeah, 10 episodes right there, mate. They're coming. You've segued beautifully into my next thing, and it's very much around that. We've talked about the problems. What about the aspirations? Like those three girls you just mentioned, all right? People that usually, or can be builders, but may not also be builders. People have these aspirations, and that's a lot of who we're going to be talking to in this podcast to enable their aspirations to come to life. So can you tell me what is the good stuff? Like, what are the aspirations when you were before
me or for anyone?
For you and for everyone, as much as you can generalize, because before you were a builder, you're a developer, and you were developing because you were aspiring to property development and create wealth. What are people hoping for? What are they excited by?
Well, for me, it's the end product. So it always has been. I want to make the end product as better than anyone's. So that's why at the end I get not frustrated, but I get so like itchy to finish this thing. Like, because you can see it. I'll walk into a place and I can see it within half an hour, and then that vision is stuck in my head for the next 12 to 16 months, depending on development. So that can play around your head, but mine's the end product. That's what does it for me. I think the wealth and everything, I think when you're younger, it's always, money, wealth, but that sort of drifts away when you have a family and everything, but it's the end product. I think if you do the right thing and you present the right product at the end, then the rest will come. So that's mine. That's what I like. I like that you got to like the journey along the way. You get like this journey's hard. The journey's going to be rough. It's going to be like that. Massively like that. Probably more like that. And you get a couple of them. But that for me is what I like. I like the end product, and then going again and say, well, I'm going to do twice as good as that one. I'm going to buy it, find a better location, and I'm going to build a better house and design the shit out of it.
Love it. That's gold. For me, I don't think I'm quite at your level, not even close, but I'd see what I do. I just do it all off the cuff and go, that shit looks pretty. Like, let's just do that. I'll have to show you your miner, which is the latest one. No design, no nothing. Just kind of, this is what I'm going to do. I reckon you'll like it.
Build.
I reckon you'll like it. Okay, so let's go to the listeners, right? Because this isn't just you're at a massive level. I want to go to listeners that are listening to this that maybe have done one, haven't done any, etc. What do you think they're really aspiring to do this for? Like, what do you think their motivation?
I think when you're younger, you're stepping into it. Obviously, you've got money involved around your head. It's probably not the thing that you should be striving for, but at the end of the day, I think 99% of the people at the start will strive to get a bit of capital up or get a bit of money. They might be doing it so they can end up owning their own home in 5 years instead of typical bank loan of 30 years. It depends on their end game and what their goal is. But I think it's like me and my missus were talking a few times, and she says sometimes she misses like the renos because it gets hectic doing these big ones, but the inner renos and the journey of it and living in it and then building little rooms for your kids. Like when you look at that now, it was fun. It's still fun. It's still fun as, but then you're sort of in a different sort of game, but it was fun. And if you do it, like I said, I did it with my missus, and sometimes she was on the brush painting around. It's fun. Spend time with each other. You get a reno done, pull each other's hair out, and finish it, and look and go, "Whoa, look what we've done together." So that might be someone's goal.
And I think that's important. I think that's important. I was at the start of the year, I suppose, getting real myself on like, who is a developer? And I did a bit of stuff on socials about this. And I think a developer is someone that develops property, right? And you started somewhere. And I think for someone, it's about doing it faster, bigger, and more often, because at least you start the journey, at least you move the journey. And I think for you got a lot of runs on the board when you were doing the you and the wifey sort of reno projects, and then you built capital, you built runs on the board, and you got bigger and bigger. For me, I'm not doing big stuff like you, but I'm in the flip sort of stage of just having fun.
And it is fun.
It is fun, and it's also financially rewarding, even when you don't know anything. Like it is still financially rewarding. But then if you can listen to this podcast, obviously over time, and you'll be revealing a lot of stuff, and so will other specialists. It's like, you can then do it strategically and mindfully and not just off the cuff, which is a lot of what I've done in the beginning.
Well, at the start would be off the cuff. I mean, it's funny, like you look at our last project, at one stage I could have had 30 to 40 people running around on site, maybe more. It's insane. And then when you're flipping houses and you're living in them at the start, there's like you, a mate, I'd be old man around. Like it was just, it's different. But it's fun.
It is.
So, my mate used to be a painter, was in the building game a little bit, and I used to get him around and sling me a bit of dough and get some stuff done, and it was just different. Like I said, the wife was on the brush, and getting mates around and chucking a barbecue on, and get stuff done on the weekend and then have a few beers after it. So it was just different. But that was fun.
Good on your wife for getting on the paintbrush, mate. My wife has never got on the paintbrush. She doesn't even let me.
She'll tell you how good she's at the painting too.
Painting's a horrific. Actually, I'll be careful what I say. It's not a nice thing. Anyway,
she criticises the other painters, so sometimes they come in, so she actually goes, all right.
So important point here is we are going to be covering this content so that we're covering guys that are starting, girls that are starting, girls that have started and want to do next, and also big stuff, right? The whole timeline of it. So it's real for you whether you're, 19 and you're aspirational, you're 25 and you're aspirational, or you're 35 60. And killing it and doing
60, you're retired, you want to start something different.
Yeah, we're covering the spectrum of property developing, whether it's 500K or it's 5 million. We're just covering it, right? Or 50 million, right? That's obviously going to come as
we'll do our best to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, I need to go now to, we've gone to our motivations because that's really important. We know who we're talking to. We know what motivations we're talking to, whether it's bad or good, so we can help people. The next thing I want to cover is, who are you? Who the hell are you, mate? To treat me like that. That's a good song. Who are you? What have you done? Tell me a little bit of your journey, right? Because you got from smaller to bigger, just to establish some credibility for people that don't know you. Give me a little bit of the Justin Hill journey.
Not much, mate. I started out flipping when I was younger. Bought my first house young, but then I moved overseas for a while and then come back in, started flipping houses, living in them. Went through that journey. That was the fun part we're talking about before. And then tried to build up some capital, made a lot of mistakes along the way. And then I wasn't a builder, but I've always worked in the building game. But footy was a thing that was more of the aspiration, and that obviously left the scene, and then just focused really on the development. I've always loved real estate, and then decided to do my building course and sort of say, well, I'm going to make this thing bigger, and then started a building company, which I actually looked on my phone the other day. My first job came up when I stopped building for other people in Sydney and stuff and come up here, and it's only 4 years ago that we started this business, JSH Projects. So we've got an unbelievable building company now. I think the guys are insane, and we're just building some really special projects now, and I think in 4 years with what you're seeing to now, I don't think we could move any quicker. And obviously the JSH brand now is like the development and the building brand, and now I think we're doing some really cool developments. So
give me a snapshot of your last 4 years.
Last 4 years. In what regards, mate?
Just the fast progression. Like, it has been fast. I've been lucky to be on a bit of the journey of it. What's fast look like for the last 4 years?
Okay, so obviously we've got some good relationships, as we all know. We've got, Matt Steinwide and Trevor and all them boys who are great guys, and we've sort of formed a bit of a thing in a direction of where we wanted to go together.
And they're top end real estate agency on the coast. Yep, cool.
I sort of picked Wombrel to be the suburb. In my head, it was like it's a broad suburb. So it's not just like a little Terrigal. Terrigal's only got a couple of good streets. Wombrel's got a fair few good streets.
I just bought one. You told me no. Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
We'll go into that one later. So it's a sort of a bigger suburb up here. It's got a good beach, and then we've got some really cool suburbs around it. So I decided to hit that one. Did like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 developments outside. This is not me living in them anymore, not, reducing tax and all that sort of stuff. This is like, start a business and I'm going outside the game, and I've got a development company. And they all did pretty good. We broke every street record, and everyone we've done so far since then has broken a record. So and it's just progressed. Then we've got a really good architect team in FBZ Design, which we use all the time now. Great people to work with. If anyone wants to get any work done, say thanks later.
Say thanks later, boys. Say thanks later, and respond to my messages.
Build a team, and then just now we're pushing the design. So it's just it's sort of progressed. And then this building company also obviously is the backbone of it.
Yeah. So 4 years ago, you've got a couple of flips under your belt. You're focusing on a suburb Wamberal. You're hitting street records. You've also got your building business doing amazing work, helping out with those developments and helping other key clients. And now you're here at a point where you're doing some really big projects, okay, like the one you're completing and we're celebrating next Wednesday, okay, plus your building business is thriving as well. So just going to paint a little bit of a picture just for credibility purposes of where you are right now.
I've got a what? Didn't I just do that?
I should have been a rapper, I reckon. That just was so fast. So talk to me a bit about where you are now. McGee, talk to me about McGee, which is a big property in Wamberal where you've knocked out the street record, right? And also a little bit about where your building business is now.
So the building business now, we've pushed into, obviously when you start out, you take on the jobs you can get. But now we've pushed more into, I want to sort of be building really more high. Well, I want the builds that we do for other people to be a lot less. And I want them to be on the same page as our development. So whatever one you look at, it's the same. I don't want to be doing a $2.5 million build and then doing a $300,000 reno in the background.
Yes.
The building business now isn't set up for that.
Yes.
So I want to stay in that lane. We've said no to a few people, which is hard lately, but which is scary sometimes, especially the way the market's going and everything like that, and interest rates and stuff. But you've just got to, I guess you just got to pick your lane and say, this is what I'm doing. So that's what I've done. So we don't really touch anything under $1.5 million now. We try not to. That's for builds for everyone else. We've got Matt Stolmann's big whopper. That's going to be our biggest one yet, even bigger than McGee.
In Wamberal. Yeah.
Wamberal, that we've already kicked off, and you'll see that going up very shortly. That's going to be a cool one to get on the board. And then, I just finished McGee.
This is yours, your development.
Yeah, that's my development. And we smashed the record at Wamberal. I think the only one that was close was another $7 million sale, but that was right on the beach. So that was pretty special. I had to figure in my head of what we could get, and we got better than that. And I think when people see it in a couple of weeks, when it's all staged and we get it all shot, they'll understand how good this build and development really is. And now I'm over it and I want to do another one.
Good stuff. And you are. You are. I think it's important I talk a little bit about myself, as much as I don't like talking about myself very much. In terms of establishing, like, who the hell am I to even sit here, because I think that's important. I'm just a nice host. That's all I'm here to do, is be a hostess. No, I'm joking. So I'm fortunate and lucky enough to have been the accountant, friend, advisor, whatever you want to call me, mate. With you for
Click.
We met and clicked, and I kind of am your financial guy, which is cool. I'm not a builder by trade. I don't know how to build. I have no carpentry skills, and I don't know how to paint, right? I want to make that very clear for everyone. I'm an accountant by trade. I've been an accountant for about 15 plus years. I'm a financial planner, financial advisor, and I'm a finance guy. That's my role. That's my role in this whole podcast, as well as being a host and getting all the goodness out of your mind, right? So we can help all these other guys. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to kind of leave it there. Okay, I don't think anyone needs to know. I also am very aligned to Justin. I'm very passionate, about what you do, and I'm also passionate about how I kind of try and model a lot of that. So I've done a lot of flips in my time, a lot of flips. I've made some good money. I've created some good capital, some good wealth. I'm really excited to sort of getting into the bigger stuff with you. That's something we speak a lot about outside of this podcast. I do usually buy things without the level of strategy that you have. I just like to keep the journey alive. So I think I've got a lot to learn in this podcast, to be completely transparent.
Just make sure there's a little bit more fat in that.
Justin's like, yep, Wamberal's great. So I go buy Wamberal. And Justin goes, why did you buy Wamberal? You didn't even consult me. And I was like, I'm still going to make heaps of money. So anyway, we've got a strategy to make heaps of money.
Now we're going to make a really good strategy.
We need a really good strategy. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yep.
But I bought in Wamberal, not all that far from the project that you're doing right now. So you're going to help me make heaps of money, and this podcast will, on that project. So thank you for that. I appreciate it in advance. But no, that's what I do. I'm a
feasibility done on the one, just mind you, wherever. It didn't ring me about it.
I do my own feasibility on my phone, just like I use the same app as you. So that financial feasibility you're talking about, I've got my own app. It's called Excel. Anyway, moral of the story is I'm a finance guy, and I work with Justin, and I love this space. I love property. I love real estate. I've invested in it for the last 10, 15 years. I've accumulated wealth, but I can accumulate a lot more wealth from this podcast, period, right? Myself personally. That's me. I think the next thing is we've got to go over the nuts and the bolts now. Nuts and the bolts. I'm even talking.
Nuts and bolts.
I'm even talking. Like the builder, and we're not talking about building too much. We're talking about developing. That's what this podcast is about. This is not a building podcast. This is a developing property podcast, right? It's wealth. It's making money on property. It's creating crazy property that you're inspired to create. That's what this is about, just so we're super clear. This is really the next chapter. We're talking about what are we going to be covering in this podcast. I want to know subjects, topic areas. I want to kind of know specialists we're going to bring in. I really want to make sure anyone listening right now isn't just like, cool, this is motivational stuff. It's like, what are we covering? And I want to cover full spectrum. And I want to keep every episode very specific, right? So we're not trying to cover everything in one, and guys are going like, yeah, like let's cover one thing a week. Yep, let's go. What do you reckon? What are we covering?
First of all, we'll start around like, locations, I guess.
Yep.
Where to buy, why to buy, what's so good about, what makes you buy that property. It's a site acquisition. Finance, 100%. There's probably going to be a few episodes on finance, I'd say. Structuring finance, getting your own money, types of different development finance and funding, things to watch out for, which I've met along the way. Then design. We'll get some good designers on here. Obviously, backtrack before, we'll get some good finance guys on here, some funders. And then, obviously, relationships, I've always said, is massively important. You got to have the good people around you that are the best at what they do, I believe. We'll get some real estates on here. We'll talk about sales. We'll talk about the design's a big one. Design for me is like, I want to have a design team out here. See, I'm already building it. I'm already specifically building a room to have a design team. So that's massive because I enjoy it. So I really want to talk about design and what you need to implement in that design to attract people. I think people go wrong there, really, like a lot. If that house ain't attractive and you come up to it, you've already lost half the market. Designing things around keeping the market at least 80%. You're selling a property and you're hitting 20% of the market. It's got 4 levels.
We actually had that chat about Woomera. I want to do 2-story, and you were like, no, mate, just go single dwelling. It's easy for a lot of different ages to access the property, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, huge, just having Justin with me on this, that it could have been 11, but it's going to be like the top sale in that street of Woomera, right? Because I put your name to it now. You got to do something. Sorry, keep going on the topic.
Structurals, like that's important. Like, you got to peel that stuff back. That can blow out a budget more than anything in the whole build. Something that you can't contain if you don't get the design right. End sales. God, the list goes on.
Feasibility.
Yeah, feasibility is very important, Ryan.
Financial feasibility, I should say.
That'll be a good topic. We'll get, like I said, we'll get some good agents in. There's tons. There's heaps to, then we might look into different aspects of development, dual locks, what that gets you, what returns you should be getting on any development. Mine have changed now. And just development in general, that's it.
Yeah.
There's so many topics that we'll be able to talk about, and I think, we stay on one path and push through them all.
So there's a lot of topics in that. If I had to put it into 3 key areas, 3 key kind of areas, you can go 4 or 5. I'm just saying I'll keep it simple for listeners. What would those 3 areas be? Are those 3 groups of areas of topics and contents? What would they kind of be?
3 big ones.
Yeah. And you can go more or less, but we're just trying to chunk these into. So can I give you what I think they are, and then you just tell me what you think they are? So I call them the 3 Fs, okay? And they're not F-wits, right? It's the 3 Fs are finding, so finding property. Next F is funding.
How do you get that?
Smart guy. And the third is, well, for me, it's more of a me thing. It's probably not a you thing. Is financials. You got to make sure your money stacks up, right? You got to make sure your profit stacks up. Your how you look stacks up, right? Which isn't funding. It's being financially fit. That's from a me standpoint. But I'm also an accountant that's working with that a lot. What do you think the areas are?
I'll be a little bit different to that because you said funding and finance. So that's money.
So we'll put them together. You can
Accounting side coming out.
Financially advising.
Mine's definitely a finding. So
we'll go
side acquisition, whatever. So
finding.
I might have 2 Fs maybe.
No, we got 2 Fs. Can we get 3? No.
And then the finance around the whole thing. So that would be feasibilities, you getting the money, funding it. So that's one big package for me.
Get funding, and what else?
Then design and build.
Okay.
All right, because
You had to ruin the 3 Fs. I couldn't have... Okay.
FFF.
FDF. Okay, cool.
That's mine. That would be...
No, and this is more about you than it is about me because you got way more runs and I'm cool with that. So just for everyone clear, we're going to be putting all these subjects, all these topics into finding property, funding the property, and then the design and build of the property.
Yeah.
We cool?
Yeah.
Unreal. That's great. So we've gone through topic areas. The areas is 3 big bangers. That way we don't have to rely on the 3F model anymore. It can be just 3 big bangers. Okay, so that's cool. Cool. So I want to know, like a listener comes on and they're like, I'm going to invest in this podcast. Like I'm going to invest in this.
Charging?
No, not yet. We will be one. There will be Super 6 as well. But listener comes on, they're like, I like what these guys are talking about. I like what Justin's talking about, right? It's good stuff. They're talking about funding, finding, and design and build, and they're really helping me, and they're creating my dream, and they're answering all my problems. What are they going to leave with? Like listening to because we're going to keep these episodes short and sharp, but when they listen and they tune in and then they leave, I want to know as a listener, what are we leaving with?
Oh, I guess more knowledge around the whole development thing. Maybe they don't want to be developers. I don't know. Maybe just want to listen to 2 blokes just rabble on. Get enjoyment out of that. We'll try and be as real as we can. So, I don't know. If it's good to listen to it. But it's more about just giving a bit more knowledge, especially like people, like I said, it's not specific to anyone. If they want to step into that game and do some type of development, it could be anything. Anything that's got to do with property, whatever type of property. You might just buy a house, put a pool in the backyard. It doesn't really matter. But it's more about just giving a bit more knowledge about that and having fun along the way. People might be able to come, write in and say, "Can you talk about this?"
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Good enough. We'll talk about it. But we've got to get listeners first, so we'll wait and see.
So I've learned something over the years around what you want to leave people with, right? In any context, whether it's a podcast, a coaching session, an advisory, doing anything, right? And this is something you do with your clients very well, right? And you probably don't even know how well you do it, right? And I've got other guys that do it very well. What I want listeners to leave with, what's really important to me, and I'm going to let you have your say on what's important to you, is I want them to leave with, yes, very specialist content, like very specific content each session, but I ultimately want them to leave with belief. Like, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, because you believe so big in what you do, why you do it, and you love that creation.
If you believe in what you do yourself, there's no point.
There's no chance. It's
someone else to believe in.
No. So
if you don't believe in something, don't do it.
Yeah. So what I'd love for you and me to do is not just keep all our topics very specific to help them very specifically and not generally, right? So they're like, oh, cool, I get that, I can implement that. I'd love them to leave going, I can do this. Like, I can actually start this journey. I can do my next in my journey, or I can eventually just keep going and get to where these guys have got. Like, that's what's really important. So I'd love people to leave every episode going, I believe a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. You can do whatever you want to do. I said that to my son last night away from trainers. Just remember, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But you got to believe in what you do before you get someone else to believe in it.
Yes.
It ain't going to work.
So you can do whatever development you want to do. You just got to start.
That's right.
Because once upon a time, mate, you started many, many years ago.
Hey, mate, I did that, and you'll be working around the clock till 12, 1 in the morning, and on your own. Yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's a good fun journey. But yeah, you got to be at the start. You got to be willing to put in the hours, because you work and then you develop. You work and then you develop. So obviously, you got to keep working at the same time, because that's not your main breadwinner. But yeah, if you want to do it, you just get in there and do it. It doesn't matter what it is, even if it's not development.
And I Yeah, and I never worked and developed, but I worked and I got enough capital and finance, and I got someone that was really good to do that. So yeah, if you're not handy like me, it's okay. There's solutions. We'll be covering those as well. So what's the first session, mate? Like, I'd love to know. Like, what is the first session that we're going to go with your gut, mate? Like, the first session that we're going to be covering, the first specific session that's going to increase the belief of the audience to take the next step. What's the first session we're going to be covering?
We'll probably talk about where you want to develop, finding the right development site. Maybe that could be the first one to hit.
Excellent. So that would fall into the area effectively of finding.
So in whatever way. So we'll talk about specific. So, it might be, we're going to do a flip. What should we look for in a flip?
Yes.
We're going to do a nice residential new home. What should we look for in that? And townhouses, what should we look for? Duplexes, what should we look for in that? If we get through, we might talk about some multi-dwelling or whatever, but they're the three we definitely will touch base on, I think.
Unreal. Love it, mate. That's gold.
How's that sound?
Absolutely gold. So for that session now, sell me how great it's going to be. Because
absolutely mind-blowing.
Is it?
Mm.
How?
I'm sure everyone out there will want to listen. So the 2 people out there listening now, tell your 2 friends, and we'll have 4 people. We'll be right.
Well, you, me, Andrew, the video guy.
I'll send it out. Make sure they jump on board.
All right.
But we'll do a pyramid scheme.
Okay. Okay, cool. So really we're covering location. Yeah. We're not just covering location.
Site specifics.
Yeah, site specifics, what to look for in a site, what to look for in a structure on a site. We're going to be really getting into the nuts and the bolts of how do you find a development that you can make lots of money on.
Yep.
And we're going to be covering it specifically. We're going to be covering nothing else, and it's going to be a very, very exciting topic. So tune in. If you've got any friends, get them in. If you need to use a pyramid scheme to get them in, we can help you with that. Just get people, because this is going to be a mind-blowing first session, and I think you'll take a lot away from it.
Ripper.
Thanks, mate. Session 1. See you in the next one.
Ciao.